1923 wheat penny. Imagine finding a coin in your pocket that is older than your grandparents. A small copper coin that has silently traveled through an entire century of history. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just a simple penny, with the face of Abraham Lincoln, staring quietly into the distance. But when you look closer at the date stamped beside the portrait, you realize something surprising. 1923. That tiny number means this coin was created more than 100 years ago. Long before smartphones, long before modern cities looked the way they do today, and long before most of the people alive today were even born. Back then, the world was completely different. Cars were still rare on the roads. Radios were the newest technology in homes. And a single penny could actually buy something. When this coin first left the mint, it was bright and shiny, fresh copper glowing under the light. Someone somewhere received it as change from a store counter. Maybe a young child held it tightly in their hand while buying candy from a neighborhood shop. Maybe a factory worker dropped it into his pocket after a long day's work. Nobody at that moment could have imagined that this small penny would still exist more than a century later. Coins like this travel quietly through history. They move from pocket to pocket, city to city, and generation to generation. Each tiny scratch on the surface tells a story of the places it might have been and the people who might have carried it. Perhaps it passed through the busy streets of an American city in the 1930s, survived the difficult years of the Great Depression, and continued circulating during a time when the world was changing faster than ever. But what makes coins like this truly fascinating isn't just their age. It's the fact that they were never meant to last this long. Most pennies from the early 1900s were spent, lost, melted, or forgotten forever. Yet somehow this one survived. Collectors today look closely at coins like this because sometimes the smallest details can reveal something special. A rare mint mark, a unique condition, or simply the fact that the coin has survived more than 100 years of history. And that is what turns an ordinary penny into a small piece of the past you can actually hold in your hand. So before you ignore the next penny you see lying on the ground, take a second look, because sometimes the smallest coin can carry the longest journey. And sometimes a simple penny from 1923 isn't just money anymore. It's a silent witness to 100 years of history, the 1957 wheat penny story. Now imagine another coin appearing beside the first one. At first glance, it looks almost identical. The same copper color, the same familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and the same classic wheat design on the back. But when you slowly turn the coin and look at the date, you notice something different. 1957. This tiny number places the coin in a completely different moment in history. The world of 1957 was changing rapidly. Television had begun entering homes. Rock and roll music was rising in popularity. And people were stepping into a new modern era. Yet even in that fast-changing world, this small penny quietly played its role in everyday life. When this coin first left the mint in 1957, it looked perfect. Its copper surface was bright and smooth, its edges sharp, and every letter clearly visible. It was just another penny among millions being released into circulation. But no one at that moment could have imagined the journey the coin might take. Perhaps the first person who received it used it to buy a newspaper on a busy city street. Maybe a child saved it inside a small piggy bank. Or maybe it passed through the hands of shopkeepers, travelers, and families who never stopped to notice its date. Coins rarely stay in one place. They travel quietly through time. This 1957 penny could have moved through countless pockets and wallets during the late 1950s and 1960s. It might have been part of the change someone received at a diner. While music played in the background, it might have sat inside, ajar on a kitchen shelf for years, before returning to circulation again. Every mark on its surface tells part of that hidden journey. But what makes the 1957 penny even more interesting is that it was one of the final years of the famous wheat penny design. After 1958, the design of the American penny changed, and the wheat ears on the back were replaced with a different image. That means this coin belongs to the final chapter of an iconic design that had existed for almost half a century. Collectors today often search for coins like this, not just because of their value, but because they represent a closing moment in American coin history. Holding one is like holding a small fragment of a time when life was slower. Technology was simpler, and even the smallest coin carried a sense of permanence. Think about it for a moment. This tiny penny might have existed before the first human stepped on the moon. It might have been circulating before the invention of the internet, before smartphones, before the modern digital world we live in today. And yet here it is, still surviving, still carrying the same year stamped into its copper surface. For more than 60 years, this coin may have traveled silently through history. It may have witnessed generations growing up, cities expanding, and the world transforming in ways nobody could have imagined in 1957. And now it sits here again, waiting to be noticed. So the next time you see an